Hello there, this is James Uscroft, Ujames 1978, welcoming everyone to another episode of my podcast series Ujames Recommends, in which I recommend a film to a friend of mine, we watch it together, and then they give their opinion of it. It's as simple as that. In this episode, I'm joined by my good friend Astrovex.
Hey, howdy, hey, my name's Astrovex. How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here.
Yes, the link to his channel is listed down in the underbar. We've just finished watching Bringing Out the Dead, the 1999 exploration of death, despair, salvation and redemption, starring Nicolas Cage and directed by Martin Scorsese. As always, this podcast will inevitably contain spoilers, so if that bothers you at all, then I've linked to a free copy of the movie down into underbar. That being said, however, I still ask everyone to please support the studio and the creators by paying to view the film legally, and having hopefully made all of that clear, Astrovex, what are your thoughts on this movie?
Well, excellent movie, even though there wasn't any true conflict driving the characters and it didn't really have a very conventional sort of plot and structure. It was just more of the day in the life of dealing with these themes of death and loss and, repentance and redemption and things like that. That it was, nonetheless, it was very stylized, it was very compelling and intense. And had some profound direction, obviously, being Scorsese. Had some great performances from Cage and Patricia Arquette. John Goodman was, it's weird how he had top billing and he was in the credits in the beginning, but he was only in it for about 20 minutes. But, yeah, it's a very, very strong film. Not as strong as some of other Scorsese stuff like Goodfellas or Casino or, stuff like that. But it was definitely had my interest all the way through. So that was good.
What you say, though, about the lack of conflict, I would disagree with you there, because for me, the conflict was entirely internal.
That's right. I mean, there wasn't a physical antagonist. It was more to do with the internal demons that he had. So that was it.
Exactly. So for me, that was a replacement of, say, an antagonist, because this is one thing that people don't get when we talk about, say, for example, the hero's journey or the villain in any given movie. Movie Bob said in a recent in a recent YouTube video discussing the Marvel Universe, I think it was his ideas on how to bring the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, talking about, he mentioned how it's all Marvel movies in the Marvel Universe, the Avengers, so on and so forth, it's all about families, it's all about their growth as characters, it's all about their interaction as interaction as a group and growth as individuals. That's why the villains are often so lame, because they're ultimately superfluous to the plot. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. Villains are, even when they're physical villains, they're just personifications of the protagonist's own internal demons, the struggles that they have to overcome. This is why there's the hero's journey, the monomyth, is repeated again and again throughout history, because it's not about defeating Darth Vader or Uruk or anyone else in any of the great legends of fiction throughout history. It's all about the humanity's eternal struggle to grow, to overcome. And in this film, the fact that Nicolas Cage's character is so haunted by death, unable to forgive himself for allowing people to die, not being able to save his patients, until finally he realizes that no, he is not God. It is not his fault. The metaphorical line in the film, you have to keep the body going long enough for the brain and heart to recover. Of course, that line being spoken literally when talking about the father character who was in a coma for most of the film, but metaphorically speaking about himself and his own redemption. But have you any thoughts about the film? Any characters or scenes that stand out for you?
it's not that everything stood out to me. Like, everything had a very cohesive flow. Like, in terms of balance, there was no real peaks and highs. Like, a lot of it was very, like, it almost had like a sort of a dreamlike feel to the whole thing. The way that the lighting and the effects and the camera work was.
I felt that was a really wonderful expression of how Nicolas Cage's character was just a zombie.
Like, this is just a daily thing to him, like something he has to just, like, this was over the course of 3 days, wasn't it?
3 nights, yeah.
Yeah, so it was this case of, like, he's been through this all before, and that's why he was numbing himself with alcohol and drugs and stuff, like, and, like, he is a drunk, depressive, that's not really much of a departure for Nicolas Cage, even as a very famous, Cage freak, like we all know and love. But, I don't really think there was, like, many sort of super peaks where there was, like, holy shit, and it was another... Oh, except maybe the one part where the ambulance just goes over, because it was ironic, an ambulance, getting into an accident. I guess it's an irony to that.
Well, I would say...
But I was going to say that I respect when a director, does something a little different. So, Scorsese doing something like this, not usually to do with, with mafias and, Sicily and, hey, Bacigalupi. That's like a sort of...
That's actually a good point, though, because... am I correct in thinking Martin Scorsese directed Goodfellas as well?
Yes.
Yes. He said himself that was his farewell to cocaine.
Oh, okay.
So once again, that was about that was a film about the protagonist's internal struggle. It was a story of rags to riches and then back to rags, which I believe Martin Scorsese said with regards to making the film. That's how he felt, that he'd risen high but then almost destroyed himself through cocaine. So that was kind of the point of the film for him. So when you say when you try to draw a juxtaposition between Goodfellas and Bringing Out the Dead, I would say that there's a lot more in common. The two films have a lot more in common. Because,
in terms of dealing with just using narcotics and things like that, and how to better yourself as a person despite all this tragedy in your life. Like in Goodfellas, with people dying all around him, and family, and going to prison and stuff like that, and then coming back out of it and dealing things and using things as a coping mechanism. Yeah, those two things are very similar. But this is more of like a slice of life over the course of 3 days, whereas Goodfellas was over the span of someone's entire life. Yeah, and we managed to bring those two things across in both those films was very, very compelling.
Yes, I would say, just rather than focusing on the mechanics, I'm someone who tends to look beyond the film itself. So, what is the meaning? What is the artist attempting to convey? Yes, I am one of those snobs. So.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did in college with the whole film studies things. Like, oh, these curtains are blue. That must signify depression and anxiety. And maybe the director just went, no, the curtains
no, that's what I mean. So many people focus on the cinematography, the scenography, so on and so forth. No, I'm trying to get inside the creator's mind and also the audience's mind to try and look beyond the he used blue in this particular scene. One film. They went from color to black and white film. I can't remember the name of the film, but they went from using color film to black and white film. That must indicate a tonal shift. No, they just ran out of money.
It's good to have it's good to have a deeper meaning to things. That's always important with any sort of art. So I get where you're going. Did you have any high moments or really low moments for the film?
Oh yes, the two standout films for me is
moments of the film. Yeah,
the two standout moments for me are when Cy is on the fence.
Yeah, that was interesting, and then okay.
He was saying, the woman he loves is dead. He's also thinking, yeah, I really need to change my direction here. When a 10-year-old kid comes into your home and starts shooting at you, leaving you with the option of either being shot or jumping off a ledge and landing spine first on a metal spike.
Yeah, it's a scary world.
But but when the police are trying to cut him off the fence, using a blowtorch.
Yeah.
So the sparks look like fireworks. I love this city. Just such an amazing scene.
I like that part, except for maybe just from a technical point where the frame rate really slows down a bit there. I don't know why that was. I don't know if that was a design choice, but it's a point where he looks over and it's like going at like 12 frames a second. I'm like, why? Why did you need to feel to do that? That was just me nitpicky though. So.
Yeah. Secondly, having with the father character basically representing, in my mind at least, in my humble opinion, being the personification of Nicolas Cage's character's struggle to keep people alive. And so until finally at the end he realizes, no, I've got to let him go. I've got to let go of my pain. I've got to forgive myself. So he sees in the father character's eyes, and you hear him talking as if
almost like telepathically in a way.
Yes. Please let me go. I've had enough. To which he lifts up his shirt and it takes off the electrodes. He's already got the electrodes on his own chest.
And the oxygen, like he was ready to do that. Like he was
absolutely.
Like a moment, like he knew he was planning it, and eventually at some point.
Yeah, this, as I say, this whole film is the story is Nicolas Cage's character learning to forgive himself, seeking redemption. The fact that the love interest character's name is Mary, oh so subtle. And the low point, almost for no reason on the second night when he's teamed up with Marcus Ving Rhames. A Latin American teenage girl is pregnant even though she's a virgin. Her name is Maria, and she gives birth to 2 babies, one boy who's healthy, one girl who's not. Yeah, I wonder what message you're trying to convey there. What religious symbolism would you have been subtly?
And then there's the whole thing with the kid in the nightclub that dies, and they're all standing around like looking to the heavens to pray while they're giving him the drugs to bring his heart back from all the the Red Death drug? And it was like you can't give so. I understand he's doing like the idea of like the false hope side where they're being distracted by the fact that science is doing all the work, they're just not looking.
Yeah, Ving Rhames, Marcus trying to trying to trick them all into becoming Christian. And, what's his name? Ivy Baggin.
Ivy Baggin, yeah.
How is that a name? All I know is Ivy Baggin. His real name's Frederick. Okay, Freddie. Frederick. Okay, Ivy Baggin.
They'll look into the heavens, go, please bring back Ivy Baggin. It's like
you have the power, you have the light, you have the really doing the kind of stereotypical black gospel preacher routine.
It's like I understand why they did it because it is humorous, but I think that might get lost on a few people. Just maybe that's just me though.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the humor though, although this film is very dark, as I say, it is an exploration of death, despair, salvation, and eventual salvation and redemption. The comedy throughout the film. Do you feel that it was woven naturally?
I felt like it made sense in places, but there was just certain parts where it was just it was like a lot of it was dark humor, and I can understand that. Some parts were just like, that's funny. But then there's some parts like what's his name? Noel? Yeah. Is that his name? Yeah. Where he kept asking for water all the time. Like some of the jokes got a bit repetitive, and then they just got to a point where they get so bad they end up being funny again. So it's kind of clever the film did that.
I wouldn't actually say that Noel asking for water was a joke, though.
No, it wasn't a joke, but like it became a joke because it was so repetitive.
Oh yeah, I
Eventually, it was just. And then there's a part later on where, when he brings the babies in, and that one baby had died, and he comes back and saying he's only had sand for days. He's like he has like no internal like memory of anything that just happened in the rest of the film, even though we as an audience member knew exactly what just happened.
Yeah.
And then he was running off, and then he was running in the middle of the road, and then...
But as very explained, though, he'd been shot in the head, which probably could have done serious damage to his long-term memory.
Yep.
But yes, I think my favourite comedy in the film, though, is the dispatcher ordering units to various incidents.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the fact that
63 X-ray.
He just sounded like
yeah. Go ahead.
63 zebra, and it was the case of like he just sounded like another person that just was in a booth and was just doing that job way too long, and it just shows that you really have to be crazy to work at a job saving people that don't care. That's the weird part.
You don't have to be crazy to work here, but it's the only thing that prevents you from killing yourself.
Yeah, certainly.
So 63 zebra, a man with a noose trying to hang himself, but nothing to hang himself from.
Woman with cockroach crawled inside of you, thinks she's having cardiac arrest. Yeah. Man with pants on fire.
Man with pants on fire. Oh, my personal favourite. Elderly woman being held hostage by her cat.
That was it, yeah.
But, I must have to say, favourite comical line. You promised that you'd fire me. I'll fire you tomorrow. Seriously. Next time I see you, you're fired.
Don't make me take off my sunglasses. It's like, what? Why? What does that mean? It was like this one guy in the film is just, he's always by the door, and like whenever it gets to a point, like a tipping point, don't make me take off my sunglasses. Like, what's he gonna do if he does? What's he gonna, like, it's just little moments like that. Like it was funny in places. We can admit that, but it was a very dark, very unfeeling, but depressing in places. But ultimately, it was all about finding purpose and forgiving oneself and. Captures that view of a psychologically troubled person in Scorsese's visual style, which had those trademarks, everything from the unconventional soundtrack to the long panning shots and like the one takes of usually a few complicated extras doing their thing, it was good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have anything else to say, do you think, before we wrap up this podcast?
What else was I gonna say? I would say actually that was one of the things that did bother me about the film was the soundtrack. Somebody said this sort of like the jazz motifs and like the slower like urban night feel stuff was good, but then sometimes it just had stuff by like the Sex Pistols and the Clash and REM, and they just felt a little bit out of place. Like they didn't really serve a purpose to the film. Because to me, when I watch a film like that, like the soundtrack has to serve as much as purpose as the visuals, and those didn't so much. But that was one of a very few flaws, and I would consider that. I would say that's one of Scorsese's like not very well known, but I'd say quite underrated as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, good movie, chaotic, sad, dark humor. Pretty memorable. I'll probably be thinking about this film for a while. I'll probably try and see it again in the future. Creepy in places, a bit sympathetic towards Cage and his character. It was interesting. A very underappreciated bit of Scorsese, classic work. I appreciate for what it was. It was good.
So, in short, would you recommend that, yes, people pay to see it?
I would recommend people seek it out any way you can. If you want to find it on DVD or anything like that, if it ever pops up on Netflix, give it a try. That's perfectly fine with me. Like, it's your money if you choose what you want to do with it.
Well, that's the point of a recommendation. You're not holding a gun to anyone's head.
Yeah, but I do, like, if you want to watch a very sort of dark psychological look into someone dealing with loss and, that sort of mentality of dealing with loss and love and learning just to find your own humanity again, give it a watch. You may even get a giggle out of it. You may get a giggle out of it.
Don't make me take off my sunglasses.
Let me take off my sunglasses.
But well, thank you very much for joining me, Vex, and until next time when I'll be discussing another movie with another friend, Annyeong.